For today's theory, we will discuss the possibility that the traveler's trusted companion Paimon is most likely acting. Paimon may be, in fact, the eternal throne of the heavenly principles, the first descender. At the end of the Sumeru Archon quest, Nahida has told us that the first descender is actually the heavenly principles. Technically, this isn't her direct intel, but was learned from the Fatui. From the Fatui's research, they conclude that the heavenly principles is the first descender. Mona also tried to read Paimon's fortunes with hydromancy.
This travel companion of yours, do you know anything of her origins? No matter what, I cannot seem to discern a single shred of information regarding this floating fairy's fate. Oh? So you don't know where she comes from either?
Other characters in Teyvat definitely have their constellations telling their fates, but Paimon doesn't seem to have one at all. This is weird because of the way Teyvat and its inhabitants operate is with constellations. Their fates are bound by those constellation system, living in a fake world. Though this isn't just the only thing interesting in regards to Paimon. Obviously, she floats while everyone walks, and yet no one really finds the fact that Paimon floating, or even just being small childlike being, is a strange circumstance. It might be that some actually see her as a human, some see her as a fairy. It's dependent on the person's points of view. Because of this, many players have begun to theorize that she could be the very first descender. She has no constellation, and her existence isn't recorded in the history of Teyvat, which is coincidental of Irminsul's lack of record about descenders. It could be far-fetched, but it is still possible. However, what doesn't make sense about this theory is when Scaramouche entered the Irminsul and deleted his information recorded within. Paimon gets influenced by the change in Irminsul and forgets him.
What was Paimon supposed to be doing just now? Paimon was, talking? Paimon suddenly can't remember what she was talking about. What was it again? The Balladeer? Is that a food too? Huh. Weird name, though.
If we are to assume that Paimon is a descender, then she shouldn't have been influenced by this change at all. Yet she does. The change in Irminsul is so massive that even Nahida doesn't remember Scaramouche at all. So if Paimon did indeed forget, then it's very hard to consider her as a descender. The traveler, who is a descender, still remembered Scaramouche when his records were deleted from the Irminsul, which is now a defining quality and proof of who is a descender. So the newer theory that Paimon is acting seems to come from this potential plot hole. It could be that Paimon is actually Phanes and is just acting in every situation, but that seems impossible. Of course, there needs to be some form of proof to show that Paimon is actually acting. And the first trail of evidence comes from Paimon's memories. When the traveler asks Paimon about what monster made the deepest impression to her, she surprisingly answers with ruined guards, and not slimes which she had spoken so many times of.
What monster made the deepest impression on you?
Monsters, huh? Probably ruin guards.
Does a ruin guard really count as a monster? It's more like a machine.
Is this still a stretch? Well, the meaning of this answer changes when we look at ruin guards. In lore, ruin guardians are dangerous entities that have destroyed Teyvat and harmed many countries and their people. Phanes, the heavenly principles that loves humanity, would definitely have a lasting impression considering that she came to Conrea close to the calamity. Paimon definitely has memories of Conrea, but acts as if she doesn't know anything. Also in the voice line about storing weapons, she asks about how the traveler makes their weapon disappear and then appear behind their back. But then traveler respond with their own question about how Paimon is able to disappear and reappear suddenly. Yet Paimon answers that she was just always have been able to do this and don't know how to explain it.
Paimon hasn't figured out how you do it yet. Could you explain it?
Well, can you explain how you suddenly appear in front of me and then disappear just as suddenly?
Well, Paimon seems to have always been able to do this, but Paimon doesn't know how.
This means that she should have all her memories and does not have any problems with it. Then by that logic, if Paimon is Phanes, She should have all of those memories within her. If not, how is she so very knowledgeable about Teyvat? It just doesn't make sense if she doesn't remember much. So if all of this is true, why is Paimon acting exactly? A personal theory of mine is that Paimon is trying to eradicate the abyss by using the Traveler. Assuming Paimon is Phanes, the heavenly principles, she has received unrecoverable damage and can't get rid of the abyss by herself. Therefore, she needed a companion that could destroy the abyss for her. So she used her powers of heavenly principles to take away the Traveler's power, then dropped them into Teyvat and began following the Traveler to monitor their desire to get rid of the abyss. Just like how Fossilers gaslit Nouvelette to become more fond of humans. However, I think that it is more likely that Paimon did do all of that, but actually did lose her memories. Whether she made her forget her own memories, or there was an error while joining the Traveler. Losing memories and now following Traveler without knowing really why fits the bill a little bit more. It's just very suspicious if she's acting all this out. One sibling is using the power of the abyss, and the other is just trying to find the other. The scenario is just way too perfect to be a coincidence, but not to a point she needs to act for all that to happen. Either way, it is undeniable that Paimon did indeed use the Traveler to reach her own goals the moment she was hooked by the Traveler's fishing pole. It's also weird that Paimon doesn't know how to fight, or even control the elements, or that she is very knowledgeable about Teyvat, but not anything else. She said it herself, that she is Teyvat's best guide, despite showing that there is some information she just doesn't know. Whenever we talk about the true identity of Phanes, the topic of Paimon always pops up. It's just a bit too suspicious. As we said before, Paimon is a bit too attached to the Traveler and has been following them for ages. We don't know if Paimon is doing that because she likes the Traveler, or because of something else. But at the moment, it looks more like that Paimon is very dependent on the Traveler. It's just a very fearful thing to be separated from Traveler, and we don't know how that would turn out in future events. Would it have some form of meaning or a hidden detail? We don't know for sure, but it's definitely something to take note. For now, we can maybe assume that Paimon is just a travel companion that could have two meanings at once. She could have been very rude to Furina because Paimon doesn't know any better, or just laughing at the fact that Fossilers can deceive her own self. She could be missing social cues because she's just a very pure being, or that she's trying to make certain events unfold. One thing is for certain, if Paimon was indeed acting all this time, and there comes a time all is revealed, the Traveler would be faced with a world where they can't trust anyone anymore. It could become a huge betrayal that would shock everyone to the very core. Thank you all so much for watching. What do you all think of these theories? Let us all know in the comments below. Remember to drop a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I'll see you all next time.